10 nasty medieval artworks you never knew about. In preparation for what's to come, we're starting with bottoms out, because I know these medieval artists were bottoms up with them bottles of wine and ale to be able to crap out some of what you're gonna witness here today. This first segment, in fact, is all about the butt and how much it was out in medieval documents. Like in this picture from 1260, as a human demon creature holds what appears to be his fins in the air, like above his head, as a monster shoots an arrow into his back door. Here in picture 2, it's from around 1310 to 1334. It shows a nude bishop who's finger wagging his bottom out brethren while the homie is crapping down the parchment you're supposed to be reading. This 14th century illustration looks normal enough. Oh, wait, no. Yet another man has his ass out in the margins. Take a look to the left, everyone. This must be how the 3rd grade teachers feel trying to mark their students' work. And just to ice this cake, let's take a gander at this 1425 art piece of a man with dysentery. And better yet, who I hope is the same guy showing off said bloody crap to this next lady while she, like us, watches in confusion and disgust going, no. Next up on our list is The Shape of Water. I think I'm hilarious, and I hope some of you get the joke from seeing the picture. Anyways, this picture is a depiction of Alexander the Great's mother in bed with the exiled pharaoh Nectanebo, who for some reason is in the form of like a lizard, dragon, scaly man thing. That weird dude who's fogging up the glass with his breath peeping in through the window is supposed to be the queen's husband, King Philip. This illustration from circa 1468 to 1475 was made to play into the lore and tales of the time that Alexander the Great had unusual magic origins that made him a legendary conqueror. With some medieval creative license, turns out those unusual magic origins are in the swimmers of a sea creature, or dare I say, a sea man. Back to the back door for this next segment, Bowels of the Beast. This illustration shows a legendary creature called the Bonasus. You don't gotta worry, it wasn't real, but the way these folks talk about it, you'd think it was. So if it was, the past can keep it. To explain the super lovely imagery you see before you, the famed Roman author Pliny the Elder once wrote that this beast, and I quote, sends forth its excrement sometimes with a distance of 3 jugera, the contact of which burns those who pursue the animals kind of like a fire. Okay, so that's a fun doodle for us. This next image is going to be a lovely break from booty. I'm just kidding, it's the butt tuba, which was a popular theme, just as it was to have the medieval people mooning on every book page, apparently. The butt tuba was interpreted to be shorthand to express disapproval, or to add an ironic spin to, the action in a text written beside it. However, some historians have noticed that the trumpets were sometimes actually added later in images like these. So it's possible that the instrument wasn't originally included in the drawing. Like this upside down fella. Now, this added to the story is beyond me. Next up is our exclusive peek into the early human. Oh, it's awful! Yeah, I hate that. This late 13th century skeleton drawn on pen and ink parchment currently resides in the Basel University Library. It's an illustration that complements scientific text in proven manuscript during the Middle Ages. Look at its upside down head and like its flat Stanley stance. People used to perform surgery on you, dude, based off of that. They also used this anatomical illustration from 1292, which you cannot look me in the eye and tell me this doesn't look like the Operation board game. Tell me. I feel like I should have like the giant unsanitized chunk of metal to pick out the weird peanut bits that are around the center spiral. It's supposed to be our innards without the buzzer going off. Based off this alone, I gotta assume that's exactly how medieval surgery went. Cut her open, dig around. Since we're already in this territory, let's cover the macabre medicine next. Our first image is this. Whatever this is. Seriously, what is this? I know it's supposed to be the back end of a person. It's supposed to show something wrong, shocker, on their ass. But seriously, if I'm gonna throw wild guesses at it, maybe back knee spread, or someone has some rolling in the hay hives. The second one we have here is of an old age enema happening. I like how chill homie looks. His expression is just radiating deep calm, like a deep sigh followed by an admittance of same bleep, different day. I guess that's why I'm here. This next one made the list for sheer shock factor alone. It's not so divine comedy, with she in her kerchief and I in my hat. sorry, I had to. It's the season of Christmas carols, and these two quite literally fit that narrative once you see the picture, but this clearly ain't no Santa on screen with them. This picture is from Dante's Divine Comedy. It's an absolute mind trip of an image in which Dante and his lover Beatrice are traveling through heaven, and they meet an angel that is comprised of all the souls of righteous people amalgamated into a giant bird. This is one of the few times I've seen medieval art and not immediately thought to myself like, oh, was that painted in 1108 or in 2023 by a toddler at a religious daycare with half-dry Sharpies? Because wow guys, it's an absolutely trippy piece. The blended faces, the harsh blue contrasting background. This is something you can get completely lost in the creepy coolest way imagined. So 10 out of 10 for this one, medieval times. But back to garbage. The Great Snail Wars are up next. Called Margialia illustrations, these artful depictions of snails duking it out with one another don't really have an explanation. It's like the meaning of snails were so well known in the Middle Ages that no one felt the need to write them down. There are different theories, of course. Maybe snails represent different groups of people, such as the Lombards. Maybe they represent lazy people. They were also a threat to crops, so hell, it could be that. This Marginalia drawing was done in 1315 to 1325 in Brunetto Latini's Li Livre tu Desiar, or the Book of Treasures, which was a series of manuscripts with an encyclopedic knowledge of the day. This nightmarish drawing from 1302 to 05 shows two rabbits at war. One holds a dog as a shield on its shoulders, and then the other one rides a snail with a human head. That was also a pretty common snail painting, in case you can't tell from this happy little guy hanging out in a snail. No thoughts, just vibes. This next one will probably be censored, but you get the idea. You'll be able to see everything else around it. It's Abraham's Big Day, aka a 14th century depiction of the biblical figure Abraham given his down there, the old chop chop, as an angel talks to him through it from all the way across the painting. She was not trying to be up and close and personal with that action. After all, I'm pretty sure Abraham was the first dude in biblical history to do the snip snip. I could be wrong, but as I can imagine, sis was keeping her distance for that reason. Anything goes wrong, you do not want to be the angel that made Abraham not able to reproduce. And last up, from the womb we emerge to the womb we return. It's Christ's wounds. It's fun fact, but medievalists like to cover Jesus in vague symbolatry of the female down there. How? Why, all those unnecessary cuts and weepy wounds placed on his figures or on his paintings for dramatization. This, for example, it's not a wound, the same way that you can say it's not the female hoo-ha inspired. A lot of people have noticed this over time as well, whether on this painting or statues they come across. But because we tend to assume nativity in these medieval artists, we think that's not what that is. I'm here to tell you it's exactly what it is, and those artists wanted you to see that. There's actually a strong artistic tradition of Christ's wounds looking like the female privates. The imagery of the wound as a womb opening was quite common and wrought with meaning even in misogynistic time. That Christ couldn't exist without a woman, without birth. If it had not been Mary, it would have been another girl to carry God's child, sure, but that child will always come out from the woman's womb. This isn't the only medieval art piece like this either. There's endless images of Christ on the cross giving birth to a personification of the church through his wounds, Christ bearing wounds similar to that of a womb, Christ giving birth to himself through his own wounds, etc., etc. Although, I think this one's probably the most magnificent, and that's another Bumblebee exclusive I sure hope you enjoyed. Take some time to like, subscribe, share, and of course, comment down below.